Hi guys, it's Omer from MMOs.com, and I'll do another quick weekly news recap of all major MMO news and announcements for the week ending February 29th, 2016. This is episode number 32 of the recap, and we're doing it on a leap year. Well, the first bit of news this week is probably the most important too, and the most interesting, at least to me, and it's from Tree of Savior, and we finally have confirmation about an upcoming open beta. IMC Games revealed that the game's open beta will start quote-unquote soon. This comes after nearly a month of silence, so hearing an update from them is great. Too bad they didn't clarify exactly when soon meant, but they did update their official website to look cleaner and nicer. And given the game has been open beta for some time in South Korea, it shouldn't be too much longer for a Western open beta release date. I suspect within the next month or two at the latest. So yeah, it's finally happening. Tree of Savior is right around the corner. And we'll see if it has the same lasting power as Ragnarok Online did for most of us, but we'll see when it comes out. Up next, a bit more news on Black Desert Online, which is officially launching on March 3rd. However, the game's Conqueror packages can already start playing as of yesterday. Every server in the game is also either crowded or overrun, so the game is definitely off to quite a good start. In fact, it's been estimated that they had over 300,000 pre-orders as well, so Black Desert Online as a buy-to-play game has been commercially successful already, but we'll see how it does when it actually launches. Also worth mentioning is that Black Desert Online actually reduced a lot of their costume prices down a bit because they had a bit of an outcry for overpriced costumes. Costumes were about $32 and now they came down to about $29. It's still a bit expensive for a costume, but at least it's cosmetic for the most part, so it's not that big of a deal, but it still feels a bit expensive, you know, $29 for a costume when the full retail game itself is only 30 bucks. And I expect a bit more Black Desert Online coverage from us, at least video-wise, when the game launches on March 3rd, when we play a bit further. Next up, we have a bit of obscure news from a game called Asta Online. I say obscure news because it's a Korean MMORPG from NeoWiz Games. Never quite made it to the West, but will be shutting down in South Korea on March 22nd, less than a year after release. In fact, I believe less than 6 months after release. And if you're thinking the game looks a lot like Vindictus, it's because it totally does look a lot like Vindictus. And despite never launching in the West, it's always sad to see a game shut down. The entire world will be gone for good. Rest in Pepperoni, Asta Online. That is a very weird title for a game. Asker? Like Ask-er? It just sounds odd to me. Next up, Asta Online reveals its cash shop. The game is launching in North America and Europe on March 2nd, and they reveal that the game will have two types of currencies. W coins is premium cash shop currency, as well as soul stones. W coins will be tradable, whereas items purchased with soul stones apparently will not be. As for the game's cash shop itself, it contains a pretty standard stuff for in-game cash shops, including costumes, XP boosters, gold boosters, mounts, and pets. It will also include a lucky box, which gives a random convenience item, quote-unquote convenience item. And here's hoping that lucky box will not be OP, because it is, after all, a lockbox anyway. Also related, a company called Axio5 will be publishing the game in Latin America, starting on March 8th. So I prefer one big server myself, but they are splitting it up, unfortunately, into North America, Europe, and Latin America. The NA and European servers are together, and Latin America is on their own. And of course, there is no South Korean version of the game because it already shut down a while ago, which definitely doesn't bode too well for Asta. So if I had to guess, I'm going to guess the game won't do so well, but we'll see. Next up, some news from In-Mass Entertainment regarding Tera. As I mentioned in a previous news recap, that Tera was replacing their starting zone, the Isle of Dawn, and that's finally happening starting tomorrow on March 1st. The Isle of Dawn will transform from a tutorial area to a level 65 hunting ground with BAMs. That's a pretty decently sized update launching tomorrow. And even with all these new games launching, Tera Online has still been a consistent winner on Steam, averaging well over 2,000 players online at any given time, which is pretty solid. And moving right along, Mu Online Season 11 launched on March 8th and features a new map named Tera, which will be accessible to level players 400+. Yes, I know Mu Online is ancient now, but it's still Webzen's most successful title. Also included in the update is the Blood Angel weapon and Mastery Dark Angel set items, which will be available to all classes. Mu Online is an interesting game if you played it when it first came out or was one of your first MMORPGs, but it's not a game that will appeal to new players today. So if you never got into it when it first came out, I don't recommend it now. It's just that these old games, they retain their player bases, but it's hard for new people to break into it. But hey, if you have a toaster PC and this is the only game you can play, boom, enjoy Mu Online. Next up, some news from Valve regarding CSGO and their sponsorships for the tournaments. The news is that Valve will be pouring more money into Counter-Strike Go's tournaments. I mean, the game's first major championship series started with in 2013 with a mere $250,000 prize pool, and that prize pool will now be increased to $1 million per tournament, starting with the 2016 MLG Columbus tournaments, which is starting relatively soon. Valve's investment towards esports make a lot of sense, especially with CSGO. I mean, they actually poured a lot of money to Dota 2 already, and people know the big prize pools in Dota 2. But Counter-Strike Go makes a lot of money. Just for reference, guys, in 2015, Dota 2 made an estimated $238 million in revenue, whereas Counter-Strike Go came in just slightly behind it at $221 million. Counter-Strike Go is a big game, and it's growing. So it makes a lot of sense for Valve to cultivate the game's esports scene with more and more money. Next up, we have a new game that launched this week. Bierzerkers is a free-to-play game that launched on Steam. It's been in early access as a buy-to-play title since last July. The game is officially fully out, and it is free-to-play. Unfortunately, it has some weird restrictions that only 2 classes are free-to-play. The rest you have to pay for. It's an odd mix of 5v5 arena MOBA mixed with a soccer game. It's very weird. We did a Sunday Funday video for it, and we didn't really like it, but it's a game, and it just came out this week, so it was worth mentioning. Next up, the Culling's closed alpha test began on February 26th, so it's been running for a few days already, with the game's early access set to begin on March 8th. If you haven't heard of the Culling yet, it's basically a survival game, but it's kind of crammed down to a much shorter experience. It's a game that was built from the ground up as a Battle Royale style game, whereas Battle Royale games like in DayZ and stuff have been traditional add-ons and custom modes for those survival games. This is specifically designed as a Battle Royale game, so it's a much shorter experience, much more streamlined experience, so you get right to the fun. It does look quite promising, but we'll take a look at it when it officially launches. And again, the early access beta begins on the 8th. Next up, we have some unfortunate news from Area Games. Scarlet Blade is shutting down on March 31st after nearly 3 years of service. Players who did play Scarlet Blade, though, will be given a Veterans package for Echo of Soul, which contains a level jump to 35, so you can start playing right away at a bit higher level. In all honesty, though, I'm kind of surprised Scarlet Blade even lasted close to 3 years. It's a game that was almost built up from the ground up as just trying to sex sales. You can literally buy an item that removes all your clothing, so you can go full commando in Scarlet Blade if you paid for it. So that's just the kind of thinking they had when they made this game. But as always, rest in pepperoni, Scarlet Blade. Always sad to see a game shut down, no matter what. Up next, Aura Kingdom from Area Games gets an update which increases the game's level cap as well as introduces new content. The game's level cap is being raised to 90, and the new zone, the Viridian Steppe, is being added. The full patch notes are available on Area Games' official website, and as with any update, there are some bug fixes and a lot of other small changes included in the big update as well. And despite Aura Kingdom being a very straightforward MMORPG, it is a gorgeous game. I mean, I really like the game's art style a lot. It's got this Tales vibe to it, which looks quite gorgeous. It's got a very sleek anime look. And the next and last bit of news this week is from Insurgency, and they're actually remaking the game Insurgency. It's a Source Engine FPS for Unreal 4, and it'll be released on PS4, Xbox One, Windows, Mac OS X, and Linux in 2017. We did a Sunday Funday video for Insurgency recently. It's a realistic shooter, and they're going to basically be remaking the whole game as Insurgency Sandstorm. And again, there's still a while to go before that actually comes out. It will feature a single-player story mode and a quote-unquote esports framework, so they will clearly be aiming for an esports look. The first Insurgency game did quite well with thousands of people online at once on Steam, so I'm curious to see how Insurgency Sandstorm will do. Anyway, guys, that's it for MMO News this week. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the podcast. Later, guys.